We're going to move on now and talk about the work that we have done at IMGroup and the value and the benefits that that has delivered. So we, as I mentioned, today's presentation very much focuses on CRM, but we do a lot of other things as well, so including business intelligence. And actually, when you embrace a system like Dynamic CRM, one of the core advantages to that is that it allows you to automate processes in play within the hospital and between a hospital and its stakeholder bodies, outside of the trust itself. And when you automate a process, that very automation standardizes the way in which data is managed and processed. And when you standardize data, you are in a far better place in terms of managing and measuring the processes that are in play and that are driving daily delivery of care in your area and in your community. So automation of processes through Dynamic CRM supports better information and better performance management for the trust, and I think that's a very strong story. We have, over recent years, developed a range of applications, and I think this is the core point. Dynamics CRM in the commercial world is traditionally thought of as a platform to manage customer relationships, hence the name CRM, Customer Relationship Management. In the NHS, we're increasingly seeing it used as a platform to consolidate legacy applications and to actually address a very, very broad range of relationship management needs, including stakeholder relationship management, public-patient involvement initiatives, the management of media requests, and so on. So you'll see that there's a number of what we call accelerators, systems that we have built that allow us to deliver the solution that you need out of the experience that we already have in other NHS trusts so far. And that's what you're going to see in the solutions that we demonstrate shortly. A very brief word on some of these. So I'm just going to talk you through, before I hand over to Niraj, 3 of the case studies that we have developed in recent years, beginning with Wandsworth. So at Wandsworth, CRM solution really delivered a range of benefits. Their initial requirement was partly the public health engagement, public patient and public involvement, and interestingly, freedom of information management, the responding to requests for freedom of information was something of an afterthought that actually has become quite fundamental to the benefit that they get from using CRM. And I think that has been an interesting experience for them. I think this is not without its challenges. I think Wandsworth, like many organisations across the NHS, are currently experiencing the, shall we say, uncertainty of the future and how that affects them in terms of the ongoing development of this platform. But it has already delivered very, very significant benefits to them, and you're going to see some of those in a moment when I hand over to Niraj. At Surrey, again, what we're dealing with here is the improvement through automation of the productivity of teams of clinicians, consultants, administrative staff, and so on. And again, that, as I've already pointed out, feeds into this ability to better manage the organisation through more consistent and more available data. And also, I think with Surrey, what we're seeing here is the ability to integrate a platform like Dynamics CRM with other technologies. There's a healthy set of third-party tools that can be integrated into CRM for a variety of different reasons and benefits, including, in this case, an application that we work with called Exact Target, which helps in the process of automating email marketing. Lastly, Guidance and Thomas's here in London, where we developed an electronic vetting system, and what that does is it manages the process of patient referral from GPs to hospital, and takes out a lot of what otherwise was the challenge in that referral process. And you can see here again how that has replaced what previously was a paper-based process, making it more efficient, making the time to delivery of care shorter, and again providing this this benefit of improved information. And we're working with them on additional requirements on that platform. And as I say, this is one of the key things. When you build a single requirement on CRM, what you're actually doing is giving yourself a platform to address a number of additional requirements that are likely to arise in any NHS trust downstream of that first project. So the return on investment grows over time as you build more and more applications on this single platform, and in so doing, just giving yourself a better infrastructure with which to address the IT needs of the trust. So with that, I'm going to now hand over to Niraj, who's going to take us through a series of presentations. Niraj.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Great. So we've got a number of demonstrations to take you through today. The first of these is mainly around managing a consultation and a number of engagements through to completion. So, first of these is, in the series is creating a consultation. So within this we're going to look at how we might receive a request for a new consultation via an email from somebody within the trust or somebody potentially outside of the trust, a local member or a local stakeholder. We're going to look at how we can set up the consultation, how we can then link and associate different documentation with that consultation, and then finally how we can kick off the consultation. So let's go into our Outlook. As you'll see, Dynamics CRM sits within Outlook. Just bear with me a moment. It looks like we've got a slight hitch. So as I mentioned, we're going to have a look at, we're going to see a new request for a consultation, and we're going to look at how we can set up a consultation in CRM. We're then going to look at how we can associate documentation to that particular consultation, and then finally we're going to kick-start the consultation. So if we go into Microsoft Outlook, so this is where you'll typically be doing your normal email activities, etc. On the top left-hand side, we've got our normal set of Outlook folders, so our inbox, mailbox, outbox, etc. If we scroll down slightly, we'll see a new set of folders, which is our dynamic CRM area. We've got a new email that's coming from Alexandra, which is a request for some public involvement and engagement. So he'd like to start a consultation on the Change for Life initiative. So we're actually going to go into our consultation area and create a new consultation and set up all the relevant details for our Change for Life consultation. In this particular instance, I won't actually enter in the information from scratch, but we'll use one of the consultations that I've already pre-created beforehand. So you'll see this gives us the majority of information that we need to capture about a consultation, so start and end dates, budget, duration, got a notes area where we can upload free format text, any comments, and a more comprehensive document management area where we can start to upload documentation, but also manage this in a more controlled manner. So we've got the ability to check in and check out documents, maintain version control of these documents, and also run these documents through workflow approval. We can also have a look and see the various activities that have been automatically created for us. So we've got an app task here which asks us to schedule a meeting to discuss the public involvement and engagement activity. Let's just assume that in this instance that particular active task has been completed. So we can now update this task as completed, and as we do so, automated processes run in the background which start to push us through the stages of the consultation. So if we go into our workflows area, we'll see the various activities that have happened. What I'm now going to do is just quickly refresh this screen so we can see how the stage of the consultation, which is currently in project setup, changes to preparation. That's due to the fact that we've now completed that initial meeting for the public involvement. So just to quickly recap on the first scenario here, we've seen how we can receive a request for a new consultation, how we can then set up that consultation, how we can also manage documentation either in a unstructured or a structured manner, and then finally how we can kickstart that consultation and use automated processes to help guide us through that process. So some of the benefits of Dynamic CRM and managing consultation. So you've seen the familiarity with Outlook. We've got the embedded Dynamic CRM which sits within Outlook, so users are using a familiar interface. We've got an area for managing documentation, so we've got centralized planning and documentation, so removing that element of holding files and documents on various users' desktops and computers. Additionally, we've got the automation of standard activities, so we can start to reduce the amount of manual input and entry required and help us, and also use automation to help guide us through processes. So the second of these scenarios is we're now going to actually planning to have an engagement, and we need to identify a set of stakeholders to invite along to our Change for Life event. And in this particular instance, we're looking at holding an event for teachers who are interested in teaching kids within schools about healthy living and healthy eating. So what we're going to do is identify our set of stakeholders, in this case our teachers. We're going to then create an engagement list. So an engagement list is similar to an Outlook distribution list. So it's just a container of contacts. And then finally we're going to associate those stakeholders to the particular list, and then we'll reuse that list later on. So back into Outlook, what we'll first quickly do is just have a look at a typical contact record, just so you get a feel for the types of information that we're beginning to capture about our stakeholders. Bear in mind that everything that you see on these forms is fully customizable, so some fields may or may not be required. Those can be added and removed. Drop-down values can be changed with ease. So stakeholder specific information, so topics of interest. So here we can start to target our stakeholders more accurately. If it's a patient, we can capture patient information, so their registered GP, some of the demographic data about them, BMI index, whether they're a smoker, etc. We've also got a snapshot area, so this screen gives us a really useful at-a-glance view of this particular stakeholder and our interactions with them. So we've got upcoming interactions, historic interaction, any inquiries that they may have submitted. And then finally we've got an administration area. So what this allows us to do is maintain our users' communication preferences. So whether a contact wants to be communicated via email, telephone, letter, etc., we can start to maintain those communication preferences here, and those are enforced throughout the solution.